Okay, Freilichem Purim, everyone.
Shelley, get my names.
Freilichem Purim, everyone. As we make a very big Kiddush Hashem over here, coming to learn. Coming to learn on a night where it's not easy for people to come and learn, and it's wonderful to have everybody. We are dedicated by the Rezepkowitz family in honor of their parents, also co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan, Lefu Shalema, for Yedidia, Ben Penina, Shoshana Bas Penina, Simone Bas Rachel, co-sponsored by Benjamin Rivlin, the Yidlin Nishmas Yitzhak Ben Avram Yehuda Levi, by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Arya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tivya Miriam Bas God, Yosef Ben Tzion Ben Yaakov Zev, by Beirich Goldwasser, Lefu Shalema for Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fadl and Dov Meir Ben Chaya Gittel, by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Eli and Orit and Ora. We again really royally welcome in Irving Fishbaum, who became much younger, Yaakov Warman, Saba, Nachman Chapler, Shalom Fogel, Dr. Guy, Yitzi Muller, Michal, Shelley Zeitlin, Rabbi Kranz, the Rebbe Yisrael of Tanazville, Mel Zachter, Shimon Klein, Stephen Holtzman, Eddie Chazan, Chaim Kramer, Dr. Block, Reb Kaniel, Marshall Castle, Barry Cement, Chaim Lerner, Naftali Jablin, Abe Arbach, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg. So far, I'm really surprised. I'm here alone in the shul. I mean, it's only 10 o'clock. I don't know where everybody is.
We're already drunk.
Well, whoever wasn't...
We were born drunk, Shelley.
Whoever wasn't...
Rabbi, 1 second. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your minion is?
Yeah, if whoever was not here for our laning was not zeicher to hear the beautiful job that Gedalia Engel did on the laning, so we are holding...
You could hear every hum on loud and clear, right?
We are...
Rabbi, may I insert something before we start?
Yeah.
I want to just thank the Kehillah. What an awesome group. We raised a really significant amount of money, which we'll be converting into a gift certificate for Rabbi and Rebbetzin Weiss.
Wait, he's taking all of us, Shelley.
Then it's not quite enough, but it's...
Boy, would I love to do that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
It's a wonderful pleasure. And I think it'll stretch into 2 like it did last year. And it's an awesome group, and it's wonderful to know you all and work with you all in that respect. And but the gift, Rabbi Weiss, will be coming to you shortly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having it.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone. And if you buy a mishpacha, you'll see that the cover of the mishpacha is the Bourbon Rabbi. Did anybody see that? Yeah. I was looking for your picture, but it was somebody else. Yeah. But anyway.
Rabbi, I want to know from Marshall how fast the Megillah laning was there, because you're an hour behind us and still already with us.
It was a slow Megillah reading, and I was debating if I was going to be able to get on or not, but I made it.
Okay.
Yeah, our Balkari is a turkey. He said every Haman, loud and clear.
Okay, Rabbi Say, we're holding, and we have in mind to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Dibarta Bam, and knowing that we are really upholding the world with our learning. There's much less learning in the world. That's why they say that Purim has 2 days, Purim and Shushan Purim, which is unheard of in any other Yom Tov, to be split in Klal Yisrael, because this way, if the people are being Mekayim Adol Yoda, so at least the people in Shushan Purim are learning on the regular Purim. And when they're Mekayim in Shushan Purim Adalayada, the people that already did Purim and the regular Purim, they're learning, because the world can't exist without learning. And we are, how many people are sitting to learn now at 10 p.m. tonight? Much less than usual, I'll tell you that much. So Hashem takes note at what we're doing. We are holding 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Pei Hey Amid Beis. Tanya Idach. We learned in another brayso, Ki Yimatzei Ish Goynev Nefesh Mei Echav, when you find a person who kidnaps any kind of soul. Nefesh is any kind of soul. Echad HaGoynev Es Ish, therefore, whether he kidnaps a man, Echad HaGoynev Es Isha, or he kidnaps a woman, Echad Ger, he kidnaps a convert, Echad Evan Meshuchrer, or an emancipated slave, V'Kotten, and a minor Chayev. If he kidnaps somebody, doesn't sell him, or mecharo, even if he sells him, but he didn't leave the kidnapper's domain, potter. If he sells him to his father, to his brothers, or to one of the relatives, chayiv. Now we're going to change that, because we're going to say, we're going to dash in the pasuk v'nimtza biyadai, and he's found in his hand prat lemotzi. That excludes where he would be regularly found anyway. So therefore, we'll see that we hold if you sell it to a relative is potter. Hagoynev avodim potter. If you steal, if you kidnap and have a Kanani potter. Tani Tana Kamadrei of Shlokish. Tana taught this brayso before Rav Sheshes. Amalei ani shayna Rabbi Shimon Aimer. I teach Rabbi Shimon Aimer me echav, one who steals from his brother, that you're only chayiv if you take him out of the rishuvas of his brother. If you sell him to a brother or relative, you're not chayiv. V'atamrit chayiv, says the Gemara, Tani potter. Amended to be that if you sell to a relative, you're potter. Says the Gemara, my kusha, Dilma harab Shimon harabanan. Maybe one is Rab Shimon, and the former teaching is going according to Rabbanan. Maybe the Rabbanan argue. Says, well, you can't say that the former teaching is not Rab Shimon, because the former teaching is from Sifrei, from the Medrash on Bamidbar and Devarim. And Stam Sifrei is Rab Shimon, as the Gemara is going to tell us. Stam Rab Yochanan, Stam Asnisin Rab Meir, an anonymous Mishnah is Rab Meir. Stam Sefta, an anonymous Sefta is Rab Nechemia. Stam Safra, that means Teres Kahanim on Vayikra, is Rab Yehuda. And Stam Sifrei, which is the Medrash on Bamidbar and Devarim, is Rab Shimon. And V'kulu Ali b'Rabbi Akiva, they're all in the name Rabbi Akiva. The bottom line is that the previous teaching was from Sifrei. So you can't say that it's going according to the Rabbanan who hold Chayiv, because Sifrei is Reb Shimon, and Reb Shimon says selling to a relative is potter, and therefore we have to amend it to potter. Hagoynev b'nai, one who kidnaps his son. So the Gemara says that one who kidnaps his son, the Mishnah says that it's the opinion of the Chachamim that you're potter. Rabbi Shmuel ben Aisha ben Braika says if you kidnap your son and sell him, you're chayiv, but the Chachamim exempt. So the Gemara says, my time in Rabbanan. What's the reason of Rabbanan? Rabbi Adama Krok Hiyamatze. When he is found, Prat Lamatze, that excludes where he is often there on his own. So if you sell him to his, if a person kidnaps his son, it's not that he's found by him, he's regularly by him. So therefore he's not chayiv. Amalei Rapapa says we can't accept that drasha. If you find a man who sleeps with a married woman, does Kimatze come to say that you're not chayiv in adultery if this man was always around the married woman? Kagain shall base plainly like such and such a house. We don't want to say because it's Lashon Hara, but there was a house where many couples lived together. the Shchichun Gabayu, so would you say that there's no adultery because it's not Kiyam Motzei, it's not found, it's Motzei, they're always together? Hachanami de Betire? Ella Ana, the drush is not from Kiyam Motzei, but from V'nimtza B'yadai. If he is found in his hand, but if somebody kidnaps his son, it's not that he was found in his hand, he's usually there.
What if he's married?
What?
What if he's married? He's already out of the house.
Yeah, but even if he's married, he visits his parents a lot. So Amar Rava Hilkach, Hani Mikri Dardike, elementary school teachers, Umasna Rabbanan, and Rebbeim in the Yeshiva Gedalah, since the students are found by them, and we know that a Rebbe is like a father, Mishnantam Levanecha Elu Talmidim, Kimitzion B'Yadai Dami, it's as if he's found by him, and this Rabbi Kranz would be even if he's a married student, Upatire, and according to Rabbanan, they would be exempt from kidnapping. Now, Dr. Block and I owned a slave. I freed my half. Dr. Block kept his ownership. So now the slave is what's called a Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Chayrin. My half becomes Mordechai. Dr. Block's half is still Tony. So Mordechai works for himself on odd days and works for Dr. Block on even days. Now what happens if Marshall kidnaps this quasi-Jew? So we had a machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda says Marshall gets whacked. And Rabbanan say he doesn't. So what's the argument? What's the argument over here? So says the Gemara, let's see it inside. Tanan Hasan. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ein la'avodim boishes. He introduces the fact that if you embarrass an Eved Kanani, you don't have to pay. There's no humiliation for an Eved. An Eved is Hefker, my time, Rabbi Yehuda, Amakra, because the pasuk says, Ki yinotzu anoshim yachtav, when two men fight together, Ish v'echav, v'achiv, a man and his brother, and it says over there, V'hechaziku b'mavushav, and he grabs him by his privates. And we learn out from there the payment for boshes, for embarrassment. And in the pasuk it says, Ish v'achiv, so only somebody that there's akva with, only someone with his brotherhood. Now we know that the pasuk says about Eliezer, Eved Avram, that he's Amad Doimel Chamar. It's a nation similar to a donkey. So there's no brotherhood. Mishi Yeshli Achva, Yotze Eved She'ein Lo Achva. It excludes an Eved that there's no brotherhood by Avodim, and therefore there's no baishas, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no payment for humiliation. Rabbanan said there is, because Achiv hu b'mitzvahs. There is a brotherhood because an Eved Kanani has mitzvahs like a woman. Now, la me'isha, that an Eved Kanani also has mitzvahs like a woman. So the Gemara says, V'hacha heichi darish. Over here, what's the machlokes with Marshall kidnapping the Mordechai / Tony, the Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Chayrin? Rabbi Yehuda Savar, it says that if you kidnap Mei Achiv from a brother, now remember, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no achva by slaves, lafuke avodim, to exclude an Eved Kanani, that if you kidnap an Eved Kanani, you're not chayiv. B'nai Yisrael, that excludes Mutei Misha Chetzi Eved Chetzi Ben Chayrin, even somebody who's half an Eved, half a Ben Chayrin. Mibnei Yisrael, that's a further miyat, again excludes Lemutei Misha Chetzi Eved Chetzi Ben Chayrin. Now, when you have a miyat after a miyat, we have a rule, ein miyad achamiyad el rabbis. Have a miyad achamiyad, it's a limitation followed by a limitation, but ein miyad achamiyad el rabbis. So therefore, he holds that if Marshall kidnaps a chatzi eved, chatzi ben chayrin, he gets whacked. The Rabbanan hold, may echav, from your brother, lafuke avodim loy mashmalu, because they said that an eved Kanani is called achiv because he's achiv b'mitzvahs, da achiv b'mitzvahs. So then Bnei Yisrael and Mibnei Yisrael, you have only two miyutim, chad lemutei eved, one to exclude if you kidnap an eved, v'chad lemutei chatzi eved chatzi ben chayrin, and one to exclude chatzi eved chatzi ben chayrin. You don't have a miyad achamiyad, and therefore, according to him, if Marshall kidnaps a chatzi eved chatzi ben chayrin, he's going to be parted. Now we know that there is a death sentence for kidnapping, but we also have to have the pasuk that tells us the warning, the lav, the prohibition. So as hora l'goynev nefesh minayin. Where do we have a warning for kidnapping? Rabbi Yoshi Aimer, it says, Malay Signaiv in the Ten Commandments. Rabbi Yochanan Aimer, Malay Yamachru, that you're not supposed to sell him. V'yimkaru mem keres eved, you're not supposed to sell him. V'lay pligi, they're actually not arguing. Ma'aka chashiv lav de geneva, one considered the lav of kidnapping, or ma'aka chashiv lav de mechira, the lav to sell him subsequently. Now, the Gemara says, Tana Rabbanan, and we have in mind to be Mekayim the mitzvahs say of V'dibar Tabam, Laslis Nachas Ruach Liyotzreinu, and we surely are giving Nachas Ruach to the Rabbeinu Shalom this evening. Tana Rabbanan, Loi Signaiv, B'gainev Nefashis HaKas Medaber. It's talking about kidnapping. You say it's talking about kidnapping. Maybe it's talking about stealing. Use one of the 13 rules that the Torah is expounded with. We learn out from its subject matter. Now, when it says Signaiv in the Ten Commandments, what's near it? Sirtzach and Sinaf, which are capital crimes. Where you're stealing people, you're having adultery with people, you're murdering people. Afkan benefashis. So here also, when it says stealing, it's talking about stealing people. Tani Ida, we learned in another brisa. Now, elsewhere it says leisignoiva, which we know means to steal money. Begain of mammon akasim davar. That's talking about stealing money. Atoim begain of mammon. You say it's talking about stealing money. Maybe it means kidnapping. Go and derive it from, again, the 13 principles. We learn out from its subject matter. Over there, the pasuk says, it means you shouldn't hurt a person in the pocketbook. It means stealing money. Now, if you remember, there's two steps to kidnapping. First, Marshall kidnaps Chatzkel, then sells him to Eddie. So, Emar, Eidei Geneva ve'Eidei Mechira. If you have witnesses of the theft, right, Irving and the Tannersville Rebbe, Irving and Israel Fisher testified that Marshall kidnapped Chatzkel. Then the Eidei Mechira, Rabbi Kranz and Mel testify that Eddie sold him. That Marshall sold him. So you have Irving and Yisrael testify that Marshall kidnapped him. And you have Rabbi Kranz and Mel that say that he sold him. Shehuzmu. And now they become Zaymimim. Because they said that Marshall did it in Chicago on Purim. And on Purim, they were all in Dubai. So, Chizkiah Eimer Ein Nerogin. Chizkiah say that Mel and Rabbi Kranz are not put to death. They're not whacked. Rabbi Yochanan Eimer Nerogin. Rabbi Yochanan says they are put to death. Chizkiah, the Eimer Rabbi Akiva, Chizkiah who says they're not put to death is because each one only testified to a chatzi davar. Right? Yisrael and Irving testified to the kidnapping, and Mel and Rabbi Kranz testified to the selling. So Chizkiah Damak Rabbi Akiva Damak davar v'lei chatzi davar. Rabbi Yochanan Damak Rabbanan Dimrei davar v'afilu chatzi davar. Now, Umayde Chachamim, Umayde Chizkiah, Be'edim Achrayim Shel Ben Tzorei Meir Shehuzmu, Chizkiah agrees that, remember, the Ben Tzorei Meir has to steal and be gluttonous twice. The first time he gets malchus, the second time he's put to death. So Chizkiah agrees that if Mel and Rabbi Kranz were the second ones that say he stole and he ate the second time, Shehuzmu, if they're found to have been in Dubai, Shenerogan, they're put to death. Why? Because the first set, Irving and Yisrael, they only wanted the Ben Tzorei Meir to get Malchus. Because the first ones could say that we came La'al Koisei Banu. V'hani Achrine, and the second set, Mel and Rabbi Kranz, that say he did it a second time, their taka is saying the capital offense, and that's V'hani Achrine Kulei Davar Ka'avdalei. So the Gemara says, okay, so then here also. Here also, when Mel and Rabbi Kranz said that Marshall sold the slave, they should get executed if they're found to be Zayman. Because the first witnesses, Irving and Yisrael, only testified that he kidnapped him to give him Malchus. Says, we should whack Mel and Rabbi Kranz. The first Adam, Irving and Yisrael could say, Lal Kazabana. We just said that he kidnapped to give Malchus. That witness, that testify that Marshall kidnapped, don't get Malchus. Itmar, we learned, Eidei Geneva Benefesh, witnesses that testify about kidnapping, Shehuzmu, Chizkiah v'Rabbi Yochanan. It's machlokes Chizkiah v'Rabbi Yochanan. Chad Amar, that if Irving and Yisrael say that Marshall kidnapped someone, and then witnesses came and say that they were in Dubai at the time, Loikin, they get Malchus. V'chad Amar ain't Loikin. And one says they don't get Malchus. V'amrinon tistayim the Chizkiah Damar Loikin. That Chizkiah holds that Irving and Yisrael get Malchus. Mida Amar Chizkiah ein erogin. Since Chizkiah says that the first group don't get killed. The Rabbi Yochanan, because if it's going according to Rabbi Yochanan, Kavan the Amar Nerogin, since he holds that for testifying that Marshall kidnapped and then they're found to be in Dubai, they're put to death. Havalei lav shenitin lazaras misas bezdin. That's a lav that carries a capital offense, and a lav that carries a capital offense, there's never malchus. The kol lav sheniten lasar misas bezin ain't like in a love. Says the Gemara, and if you lucky, and if Marshall can't get Malchus, inu heichi lucky, then for sure the witnesses, Irving and Yisrael, won't get Malchus. Ella amara papa, be'edei mechira. The witnesses that testify that Marshall sold the slave. The kuli amale pli denerog. Everybody agrees that if they're found to be zaymimim, if Mel and Rabbi Kranz are found to be zaymimim, since they wanted to put to death Marshall, they're put to death. Ki pligi be'edei geneva. They argue about the witnesses that say that Marshall kidnapped him. Chizkiah Amar ein erogin. Chizkiah says that they're not killed because geneva l'chuda kaima. The kidnapping is alone, and kidnapping alone is not yet a capital offense because you're not chayiv until you use them and sell them. Or mechira l'chuda kaima, and the selling is independent. So the selling, which is independent, is a whole davar, and for that there's execution. For the kidnapping, is no execution. Rabbi Yochanan says they are put to death. Geneva aschalta de mechiri, because the kidnapping is the beginning of the process of selling, and therefore the witnesses that testify, that's Irving and Yisrael, that testified that he kidnapped, that's the beginning of the process of the selling, and therefore there would be for that execution if the witnesses were found to be zaymim. But even Rabbi Yochanan agrees that the first witnesses of a wayward and rebellious child that were proven to be in Dubai, she'ein erogin. Why? Because that's just a floggable offense. Since they say we only came to flog him for stealing and eating it the first time. So Amar Abaya, Hakol Moedim ben, there's three cases here. Hakol Moedim ben Saramira. Everybody agrees in one case of a ben Saramira. Vakol Moedim ben Saramira, and everybody agrees about a second case of the ben Saramira. Or Machloikis ben Saramira. In the third case, there's an argument by the ben Saramira. Now the Gemara clarifies. Hakol Moedim ben Saramira. Everybody agrees with the rebellious and wayward child. That's be'edim harishayim she'ein naragin. That's the witnesses that saw him steal and eat the meat and the wine the first time. There's no death if they become hazama, because it's only a floggable offense. We came only to cause him to be flogged. But I told Ben Sarah that the second time, be'edim achrayim, that those that come, if Mel and Rabbi Kran say that he did it a second time, which is a capital offense, therefore the second time is kulei davar ka'av delay. That's not a chatzi davar, it's kol davar, because the second time is the capital offense. Machloikis beben Saramira. What's the machloikis beben Saramira? Shnayim oimim b'fanenu ganav. If two say that in our presence he stole the money, remember he has to steal and he has to eat it. Ushnayim oimim b'fanenu achal. And two say that in our presence he ate. Then we were mazing both witnesses. Now, each witness only did a chatzi davar. This is the second time. So the second time was a capital offense. But each witness only did half. One set of witnesses, Irving and Yisrael, said that he stole the money. And Mel and Rabbi Kran said he ate it. So according to Chizkiah, that says that a chatzi davar is no good, then there wouldn't be azama. According to Yochanan, who says a chatzi davar is good, there would be azama. Now, Amar Rav Asi, really incredible to me that at 10:28 on a Purim evening, we have 27 Zoomers. It's really, and David Helfgott on Kol HaLashon, it's 28. Really, really, really quite amazing. Really quite amazing. And Barry Cement. I mean, usually we would expect that his feet would already be in the cement, but he's here. And look at that costume. Isn't it real life? Unbelievable. What a costume.
Dressed up for Halloween today.
Yeah, I was thinking about that about you.
Which one is Barry?
You're like a poster child for the haunted house. So anyway, there is Barry in the flesh.
I hope he's in clothes, not in the flesh.
Now, you've been listening to the Megillah too much.
I know that sharpening us always got me scared.
Yeah, Amar Rav Asi, Eidei Mechira B'Nefesh Shehuzmu. Rav Ashi now says, witnesses of the sale that became Zaymimin, Ein Neragin, they're not put to death. Why? Because what did they testify? They testified that Marshall sold somebody. They could claim, Marshall could say, yeah, I sold him, he's my slave. I'm allowed to sell my slave. So if there's no witnesses that he kidnapped him, so the witnesses would not be able to execute Marshall, and therefore if the witnesses are found to be in Dubai, they're not put to death. Amar Rav Yosef, Keman Oslo Hashmaitza de Rav Asi, Rabbi Akiva, like Rabbi Akiva, the Amar Davar v'loy Chatzi Davar. They have to have the whole thing and not half. So the Gemara says that's not the reason why he said it. He didn't say it's not good because it's only half. He said it's not good because we don't have proof that he did any criminal offense at all. He said that the reason why the witnesses are not executed is because they didn't say that they didn't prove that Marshall did any criminal offense. He sold Chatzkel, but maybe Chatzkel was his slave. Elafilu Tamer Rabbanan, where there was no witnesses that Marshall kidnapped Chatzkel at all. Says Gemara, what's the Chiddush? Says the Gemara, even though later on witnesses came and said that Marshall did kidnap Chatzkel. Says the Gemara, so what? But at the time that they testified, there was no witnesses. Says the Gemara, when Irving and Yisrael testified that Marshall sold Chatzkel, Rabbi Kranz and Mel were motioning to him that they're going to testify that Marshall kidnapped Chatzkel. So maybe since they knew about it, so now they did the witnesses were giving a capital crime by saying that Marshall sold him. Now the same a remiza milsi, that hinting and gesticulating counts. Kamash Malon remiza de lav klumu. There's nothing to hinting. So since when Irving and Yisrael testified that Marshall sold Chatzkel, there was no clear evidence that Chatzkel was kidnapped. Maybe Chatzkel was Marshall's slave, so therefore they can't be whacked as Edom Zayman.